your source for news from Cine 2018. Indie Shooter. Brought to you by Kideo, Band Pro, Blackmagic Design, Carl Zeiss, and Panasonic.
Hi, Clint with Indie Shooter, continuing our live coverage of Cine 2018 here at the Panasonic booth with Mitch Gross of Panasonic. And you guys are like rolling out like a bunch of news today, but let's talk about the EVA1 and let's talk a little bit about that.
All right, so EVA1 was introduced, we first did the announcement of EVA1 at Cine last year, right. But it was just, at that point it was just sort of a presentation and a little mock-up of the camera. Started shipping in October, and since then we've had several firmware updates because, we're always looking to make the camera that much more for what people want out of it. Some of the stuff was announced that we were going to be doing, that like this stuff is going to come after the camera debuts. Some of the stuff wasn't, so we were going to keep bringing out more stuff. So EVA 2.0, which came shortly before shortly before NAB, that introduced the all-eye recording, the 400 megabit recording format in the camera. It also introduced RAW output, and a number of other things. We introduced support for a number of lenses, including integrated support with these Canon 18-80 and 7200 Cine servo zooms. So we built out a lot of support with that. 6 more lenses that were added. It's lots of different functions, time lapse, and then now at Cine we have EVA 2.5. Not as big a firmware update, but there are some very nice new features added to it. So the first one is what we call smooth mode. Smooth mode is a form of noise reduction. We already had in the noise reduction menu on the camera, it had off, no noise reduction, or a normal level of 1, normal level of 2. They were fairly mild just to kind of take the edge off. And then people were saying, we do a lot of work where we could use like neat video in post and other things that we could, clean up, but that can take time, a lot of processing power. Got a short turnaround for production stuff. We want to be able to shoot with your high sensitivity modes and stuff, and really have a very clean thing. Just be able to just record it on the cards and out we go with it. So smooth mode is a more aggressive form of noise reduction. And what it was originally designed for the 2500 to 5000 ISO level of ISOs on the camera, but we made it available for everything. Just if you want to use it for everything or switch between things and not have to worry about it, like it's always, you can use it wherever you want. At 2500 to 5000 ISO, the noise on this camera with smooth mode enabled is less than competing manufacturers, other cameras that are out there. However, what happens when you apply noise reductions, you also lose some resolving power out of an image. That's where 5.7K with this camera is so wonderful, because you actually, even with smooth mode enabled, because it's a 5.7K sensor on the camera, you end up with a 4K image that's still higher resolving than those other cameras with their native 4K sensor to get a 4K image. So it's sort of not paying a price in that way to be able to get it. Now, if you're not someone who needs to have in-camera noise reduction and want to be able to, massage that and such in post or whatever, terrific. But if it's something that's available for you to do right here in camera. Other new functions, we continue to expand the integration with the Canon Cine servo zooms, because people really like to use that. So, we've had it where, yes, you can power the zoom and you could control the iris. Now, the autofocus. The camera has a one-push autofocus system, and you can actually push the button on the camera, it'll run the autofocus on this lens. So they'll work with one another. And at the same time, I can actually take our WM50, our Wi-Fi dongle, and put it in the camera, use an iPad or iPhone to communicate with the camera, through the camera, to the lens. And I can control the iris and the zoom and the focus all from this remote control. So I can actually do a zoom from a remote from my iPad, or I can put a little controller that you would put on the pan arm of a camera and plug it in where the hand grip plugs in, and I can control things that way as well.
Now, this is not giving you the actual image. This is just giving you the controls. You would still have to look at a monitor like while you're doing it.
It's an interface panel. We call it, it's the EVA1, remote operating panel. So it's a remote control interface, and it's all the menu controls of the camera. You can actually get into everything that you would ever want to. Some quick controls, for major functions, other things you have to dig into a little bit if you want to get in there, but you can have user buttons that are all programmed. In fact, there's a user button on this lens, so we programmed it to replicate one of the user buttons on the camera. That way you can set whatever that user button is on the camera, and then if you're handheld with the holding the servo hand grip on the lens, you can push that user button and, I don't know, focus expand or something, whatever function you might want to have for that particular user button, you can just program it in there. Again, trying to take what is a tool that people like to use and a tool that people like to use and make them work together as well as possible and integrate nicely.
That's the Canon's. Will it do this functionality with other lenses? Or?
It does some of those functions. I mean, this is one of the only lenses that has a Cine servo zoom control on it. However, I can take like a Sigma zoom, for instance, and I can control focus on it remotely, because it's got the motors in it, the servo controls for focus as well as the iris, and so I can remote focus that lens from an iPad. So now I can have this rigged out wherever it is, and I can talk to it and control it.
No, a Movi or a gimbal or something like that, you don't have to be where it's awkward to get to the controls and everything, sure.
Exactly. There are plenty of times, even like on a car rig or something, there's plenty of times where you just can't be there physically at the camera, and so we try to integrate as much as possible a remote function of the camera. Sometimes it's just more convenient to have a person operating physically the camera, but they're really worried about framing and moving around, and someone, like say on a movie, and then someone else is actually doing camera controls remotely. So it's really, it's a tool, and you don't have to use it, but if you want to use it, we try to make it as functional as possible. Now, another nifty thing is, here's the Shogun Inferno, and that we're showing right now, it's going to be next week, as I understand it, they're going to have the 5.7K ProRes RAW recording enabled. So they have 4K up to 60 frames a second and 2K up to 240 frames a second recording in ProRes RAW enabled from the camera to the Inferno. The 5.7K was always going to come a little bit later because we're the only camera that does 5.7K, so they had to get that one done. So that's going to be coming very, very soon. They actually released it today for their big recorder, the Sumo 19-inch monitor recorder. Right. So that is available right now. It's just that's not the one that can mount on the camera and run around with. So this is going to be enabled very, very shortly. And a lot of people have said to me like, "Oh, that's great. ProRes RAW sounds really interesting, whatever." But it's only right now on Final Cut.
Final Cut.
And my platform is set up for working with. I'm a Windows-based system, and everything's in Resolve or in Premiere or whatever. That's fine. This, people kind of miss the news. This does do cinema DNG recording. Right. Now, because there's only one SSD slot, that means there's a SATA connection, that's the port that connects to it. You can only put so much data through. So when you're recording in an uncompressed RAW format like cinema DNG, it means that it can only do 4K up to 30 frames a second or 2K up to 120 frames a second in those modes, because that's just how much data can fit through. It's not like the machine couldn't understand it, it just can't fit it through that pipe. But 99% of someone's work is going to be in 4K below 30 frames a second or below 120 in 2K. So you can do that work today and then take that material into Premiere or Resolve and just go ahead and work with it right now. That works terrifically.
No, and the one thing I think that people need to be careful of, and I know this from experience, the Shogun, if you're going to utilize those high-end codecs, then you really have to pay attention to what the recommended specs are for the SSDs, because and that goes to size of the SSD and the manufacturer and everything like that. But I think the good news here is that if you can't get ProRes RAW right now, it's coming. It will be on all the formats. It's just a matter of time. I've never seen one codec that wasn't like was only like relative to one type of app.
Right. I mean, I think their attitude is that they want to make this a new standard. That between Apple and Atomos, they want to make sort of a new standard that everyone can use, across all systems. Just like think of what ProRes is. ProRes in video.
A long time ProRes, right?
Yeah, and so it's something, I think you're going on 11 years now or something like that. It's something where they just want to make a system that just everybody can go in and go out with, and it all works together. And so when you first introduce it, it's going to be limited to only work on this thing until the others add it too, and it all works together. But eventually, it'll be everywhere and stuff, and it'll be available.
And I mean, that's what you want. You want a camera that's cutting edge, that's not going to be outdated in a year. And I think that's one thing that's really encouraging. This is the second update to the device?
Actually, technically the fourth. We came out with the camera in October, and shortly after the introduction of the camera, we had a minor firmware upgrade that there was a couple little functions that we were like, we can make those, we can tune them a little bit. So it was a fairly minor one, but it was like right after the camera first came out. Then in February, it was in February, we came out with, I forget the number honestly, but it was a 1 point something or other that added a bunch of lenses that we supported, just because there were so many people who wanted to use like these Sigma lenses. They wanted to have there was the 24-70 was the zoom. I know there was another one as well, and it was just like this lens was really popular, and people really wanted to use it with the camera. So engineers worked to make adjustments to make the communication proper between that and a bunch of others as well. And so we came out with that firmware. Then there was the big 2.0 firmware. That was the one with the All-I and the RAW, which we had told people about. We hadn't told people that there was also going to be a bunch of other functions in there, because some of them we didn't even know about. We didn't know that when we came out with the camera initially, that there was going to be a bunch of broadcasters who were really interested. It's much more of a production camera, we thought. But there were broadcasters who wanted it for spot news, and they needed interlace.
I was told through the grapevine that NBC ordered a ton of these things. Is that right?
Major networks are very interested in these cameras for various reasons. So, and these guys need to have 1080i. It's what their bread and butter, what they work in all the time. So we're like, sure, we can add that, sure. And so we added we record in long GOP as well as All-I. In All-I, it's 100 megabit a second, and in long GOP, it's that magic number of 50 megabit a second, which is what all the news guys want, because they have to take their files and load it into a server system and get it up to the satellite and whatever. And so they need to cap the data rates and such on. So we were able to make that all work, and the engineers enabled everything, and terrific. So that was a function that initially it was not in our plan at all, and we just had customer interest. We listened to our clients and stuff, and they were like, we really would like this camera, but we need this. Sure, we added it in. And then the idea of the smooth mode, again, was something where we had clients saying, I understand that I can use this thing in post and I can do it, but I need to be able to do quick turnaround work. And again, it's a different mode of shooting than someone else who might go through a long post process. Maybe they're shooting log and they're going to do color correctly. Other guys, I'm going to take a scene file, I'm going to create this look, I'm going to burn it in, it's going to be the way I want it, but I want to have it with the noise reduction that I need to see, because I'm going to be shooting with high sensitivity, and I need it done. Okay, fine. So it's in the camera and it's all connected in there together. There's other functions in the new firmware as well. We enabled even more lenses. Now there's 2 more Canon zooms, including the 17 to 55, which is an EFS lens. Actually, it only covers the APS-C Super 35.
The crop sensors.
So, and that's the size sensor of here. And that's a very popular lens, because it's a really nice lens for a very attractive price. So a lot of people like that lens. It's quite small, and so it's nice on the camera. So we enabled that lens. And there's another Canon as well, and there's 2 Tamron lenses. The first 2 Tamron lenses. One of the things with our whole list of compatible lenses, there's actually tons of. There in EF mount, I don't know. I'm gonna guess 1,000 lenses that are made that can go to EF mount. We haven't begun to test all these different possible things. What we've done is our engineers back in the factory in Japan have gone through lots of different lenses and taking what were the most popular manufacturers, the most popular lenses from those manufacturers, the most recent lenses, and really try to do compatibility with them and sort of reverse engineer for some of them to make everything work with the camera properly. And so those are our sort of tested lenses that we know what they all do, and we have on our website, a whole chart of what they do and don't do, and here's the information, all those lenses. But there are tons of other lenses that people, shoot me emails and stuff and say, hey, I put this lens on, it all works great. Not on your list, but it works. Great, terrific. There's just a lot of them out there. There's so many lenses. Someone talked to me about a lens that was like a 14-year-old lens. I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad it worked. Who knows? So we now have 2 Tamron lenses as well on our list, and so we're constantly adding and expanding what the camera can do.
That's wonderful. And in regards to 2.5, were there any other improvements or any other things that you guys added?
What else is in 2.5? There's a few. Sometimes I lose track. There's so many different things. Like I said, we enabled more functionality with, for the autofocus with the 2 Canon Cine servos. We added those the 4 more lenses, and we have the smooth mode. There was a thing with the scene files in the menu. When you clicked on if you wanted to go to a scene file and you clicked in the color menu and stuff, it would just say scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and then you're like, well, what is this? You would have to go into scene 1, and then it would have the description of saying what the thing was. So it's like, come on, guys, it's just like, put it in the menu. So we put in the menu tree that when that screen comes up, it actually tells you what the description is. So it's like, oh, well, this is that Cine Look 1. Okay, fine. Or if you go and program your own and, say that, this is Cliff's special, there it is. You'll know what it is so that you can find the stuff. It's a little easier to work with that way. There was one lens, I can't remember which one it was, that had a weird thing. When you would zoom it would send a weird signal through the camera, and it would give weird information there. So we cleaned that up. We it just made things communicate a little better. Little tweaks that sometimes no one will ever notice but us, just can do.
That's wonderful. And in regards to 2.5, were there any other improvements or any other things that you guys added?
What else is in 2.5? There's a few. Sometimes I lose track. There's so many different things. Like I said, we enabled more functionality with, for the autofocus with the 2 Canon Cine servos. We added those the 4 more lenses, and we have the smooth mode. There was a thing with the scene files in the menu. When you clicked on if you wanted to go to a scene file and you clicked in the color menu and stuff, it would just say scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and then you're like, well, what is this? You would have to go into scene 1, and then it would have the description of saying what the thing was. So it's like, come on, guys, it's just like, put it in the menu. So we put in the menu tree that when that screen comes up, it actually tells you what the description is. So it's like, oh, well, this is that Cine Look 1. Okay, fine. Or if you go and program your own and, say that, this is Cliff's special, there it is. You'll know what it is so that you can find the stuff. It's a little easier to work with that way. There was one lens, I can't remember which one it was, that had a weird thing. When you would zoom it would send a weird signal through the camera, and it would give weird information there. So we cleaned that up. We it just made things communicate a little better. Little tweaks that sometimes no one will ever notice but us. Just kind of tweaked inside there.
So there was also another large announcement today. You guys were starting a film contest related to the EVA1. Talk about that.
So one of the things with a camera like this is, first off, we just want to see how people are using it, because there's a lot of cameras that are very clear, sort of specific use machines, and we have tried to do kitchen sink with this camera. We made a very small, lightweight camera that can be used in certain ways, but we also threw in so many features on it that we have lots of different kind of audiences, if you will, that were interested. So we wanted to see how people were using the camera. And then it's a sort of thing these days where you want to build a community with people. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing with social media. No,
you guys are very connected to the customer base.
Yeah, and it's something where it's a two-way street.
Yeah, it's a two-way conversation.
We want people to know we're there for them, and can answer questions, and know what's going on with what the camera is and why it works certain ways and what we made available to them. But the other thing is that we want to hear from the clients, from the people out there, how they want to use our camera, what things are important to them, what things that they would like to see that be changed or made improved. What if I get the same question 10 times about this thing and I never get a question about that thing, either they're really satisfied with that thing or they just don't care about it. But this thing is really important to them. They really need to know about that. Well, that means I need to either talk about it more or we need to work on that thing more to, improve it. So it's a great way to cut out the middleman, if you will, and just really talk to the community and build a sense of community, but also learn what we need to do to make our products better for everyone. So the contest that's between the U.S. and the European group of countries that it's all broken down on the forms that to submit, and we have 2 categories. You can do documentary work and you can do narrative work, and the films have to be between 30 seconds and 5 minutes. And you could have already released this somewhere or whatever. If it's for a client, as long as they've given permission, whatever, it has to be, really shot on the EVA1. I mean, if there's like a shot that you did on a drone or something that, you needed to get something else for one shot, you got to tell us all about it, but we understand. But it's really about EVA1 footage, and we want to see how people are using this stuff. We're going to have a winner for the U.S. We're going to have a winner for Europe, and U.S. $6,000.
$6,000, which essentially you're getting your money back on the camera.
It's almost the cost of the camera at that point, and it's really, we'll showcase the work on our Vimeo and YouTube channel and stuff, and we really want people to see what the cameras can do and how people are using these cameras. I mean, look, sometimes people are just going to be doing basic talking head type interview things, and that's real work, that's important things, but I'm sure there's going to be projects out there that people are using the camera in some way that we're like, okay.
Never thought of that.
Never would have occurred to me. Like, I always used to say to people, like, here's some widget, here's some tool. I'm not going to tell you how to use it. I'm going to let you know some of the things it can do for you, and then you guys are going to end up coming back with things that we will have never thought of, just never occurred to us. Like, and that's great. So that's what we want to see, like ways that people are using these cameras. And it's like, just like I said, like news guys are interested in using the camera. There's people they're doing multi-series work. There are people who are doing multicam camera, like
live stream
or studio-based shows and stuff like that. Lots of different things. Netflix has now approved the camera using, not even talking about the RAW, which I think they're still in the process of making a decision exactly, doing that approval process, but for the internal recording on the camera with the All-I 400 codec for 4K, that's approved, and not just for like documentary work, for anything. You could shoot a Netflix show on the EVA1 with the internal recording just right there, done. $7,500 camera, and away you go. So it's like you could be shooting a Netflix series with this. There's lots of different types of work. We just want to start seeing what things are and sort of celebrate the different things it does.
So when you guys get the entries, are they automatically going to be pushed out to social media, or are you going to wait until the judging?
You never know what's going to come in, so we gotta kind of like look through it just to make sure. Just to be safe. Legal department says, hey,
never thought of that.
Yeah, you never know. But we're not looking to censor or whatever. We just got to like check what this stuff is, and then what we'll do is that'll propagate out to our, we want to share in the world with what this stuff is, and be able to have some behind the scenes work of what show some pictures of stuff going on with the thing, just to show people really here's different ways the cameras are being used. Here's different things that are up with it, and then and also it's just a great way to sort of showcase with the community. I mean, look, you could be some kid in Wisconsin or something, and just you got a camera and you shot a short with your friends, just to, and like maybe you did something really interesting. You send it in, we're going to put it on our channel, and then everyone can see it. And we're not like, if you want to submit it to a festival, whatever, it's your film, and you can have it out there, whatever. We just want to be able to have a platform for people to be able to get their work out, and we can say, hey, everyone, check out the channel and see this stuff, and we're going to try and promote the idea that these films are available for people to see. And again, in Europe and in the U.S., different filmmakers sharing their work.
So people can start submitting today, right?
Absolutely. Go to our website. There's a link for it. You can then download it. There's sort of an entry form, to it, so that it's an online form, and you can understand exactly. It's very straightforward. What the requirements are and stuff. We'll take a compressed format for it, but then it's like we're going to ask you for like a ProRes version or something, so we can be able to showcase your work very well and stuff. But it's all very straightforward, and
it's free, right? You don't have to pay.
There is no entry fee to this. We have industry veteran judges who are going to be the ones deciding on for the finalists, the winners. And but even if you're not a finalist, we want to be able to like showcase some work and stuff. We really want to just be able to put stuff out to the world for people.
So, in the running time is 30 seconds?
Between 30 seconds and I think it was like 25 seconds and 5 minutes. We didn't want to have, someone dropping in a 2-hour feature and whatever. It's kind of thing where it just becomes unwieldy in the contest.
Well, yeah, it's difficult to get the judges to sit through like 20 features or something like that.
That would be on a practical level, yeah. And then also on a practical level, like we just want to show a variety of work from people. And so, it's hard to judge a feature-length piece versus a 3-minute piece. I mean, it's such apples and oranges,
No, but if somebody's already shot a feature or a short, they can cut that and insert it if it works.
Yeah, I mean, if you took a couple of scenes that together made like a little short story, recut that and made it a piece, sure, why not?
Can you submit more than one time?
You may submit as many works as you'd like. Each one is a separate submission, but you can go crazy.
That's wonderful. So 2.5 is available today, right?
2.5 is now available. Just download it all. Free downloads right off our website. It encompasses everything that 2.0 and all the other ones did beforehand. So, people ask me like, well, if I haven't updated it, can I skip whatever? Yes, you just put it in the latest firmware. It literally takes like 2 minutes to load into it's very easy to do. And so put that in your camera, you get all these features for free.
Excellent, Mitch. Thank you so much. And people will check out that website is
if you Google AU-EVA1, it's always like one of the first couple ones to come up, and it's the North American website, because we have a European website, we have the factory website that's out of Japan and stuff. So you go to the North American one, that's going to have the information about the contest.
Hey, Mitch, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Your source for news from Cine 2018. Indie Shooter. Brought to you by Kitio, Band Pro, Blackmagic Design, Carl Zeiss, and Panasonic.